All right, we're going to take another look at one of my classic motocross magazines here. This one is the 1993 October issue of Motocross Action. I have one of these, a couple of these issues, and I'm selling this one on eBay. Inside there's a lot of great stuff, including one of the classic ads of the early 90s here. The Dream On campaign by Fox was amazing. There were several different versions of these. Love all of them. Really, really high concept ads, and beautiful poster there. A very young Robbie Renard, who was just getting ready to turn pro in 1994. Here on the table of contents, we have Jamie Dobb, who was riding for Pro Circuit Kawasaki at the time, ad for DG, who was a major powerhouse in motocross in the 70s, really more in ATVs by this point. But they did sell some stuff. You'd see their ads here in the magazines, and I think they basically transitioned to being mainly a ATV provider and like specializing in pipes and stuff for older bikes. These Shoei helmets were awesome. I always wanted one of the Bradshaw ones. They were so cool. I did a replica. Had my cheeseball BFE painted to kind of resemble that in the mid-90s there. Did a Bradshaw replica of my own. Here's an ad for the 1994 Kawasaki KX250. I love the 93 version of this with Jeff Matasevich at Mount Morris. I mean, it was Monmouth Mountain. Yeah, Monmouth Mountain. Sky shotting a jump. Clearly kind of a early version of Photoshop. I'm not sure what they use. Clearly there was no Photoshop then, but this is another one that's, I guess, kind of in that same vein, although I don't really care for this one nearly as much, with Kudrowski blasting straight through this jump. Some really hideous Smith goggles. Cinesalo, Jeremy McGrath was like riding for Cinesalo in 93. They had Jeff Ward. They went right to Jeremy. He ended up having the hottest rider in the sport in Cinesalo stuff. Never had any of this, these gloves. I did have some 94 Cinesalo gear. I had the McGrath replica stuff in 94. Loved it. Actually, I think there's an ad for that in one of these magazines. This one there's an ad for the old KTMs for 94. Good looking bikes. I really like the styling on these. The 94, 95s are good looking machines. Answer Racing, back then you could, I don't think anybody was offering custom numbers, but you could get Answer Racing sold an iron-on kit where you could kind of do your own sponsors and stuff. And here's an ad for a kidney belt, which you just don't see people wearing anymore. I assume there's probably still available, but I don't know if anybody actually runs them. You can get yourself a nice Dream On calendar, Motocross Action Warehouse, some ads, various ads, and what have you. Now, this is a really cool ad for the all-new CR250. I love this, showing all the Honda. Honda really dominated Supercross for many years, from 88 through, I guess, 97 was the first year they lost when McGrath switched to Suzuki. They finally broke their stringer run of titles. Love this 94 bike. I never had one myself. A good buddy of mine had the 125 this year. I love the styling on them. Good-looking machine for sure. Definitely sweet-looking machine. These AGV helmets, I had an AGV helmet back in the day. Cracked it right on, split right in half on a really bad crash. Never a big fan of the AGV helmets. 94 KTMs, as I said, really good-looking machines. Love that good-looking bike, in my opinion. Nice styling. Some really good-looking O'Neill ads in here. The Avenger, this is when, four-stroke dirt bikes were very, very kind of a niche. And this one looks like it's using a Rotax engine, kind of like a ATK, and a really crazy suspension system on it. Kind of a weird Yamaha monoshock deal. Extreme was really great gear in the early 90s. Always love that stuff. Really cool Pro Circuit ad showing all the factory bikes that are running Pro Circuit exhaust. They really had a lot of the pro bikes in the early 90s certainly were running Pro Circuit stuff. They built some good stuff. Preview of the 94 Yamaha. This issue has a lot of previews of all the new 94 bikes. Rick Johnson, interestingly, he's with Yamaha, and then he went to Suzuki, I think, after this, doing riding schools for them. All the changes, the new power valve system on the 125. The 94 Suzukis, they really didn't look much different this year. They did add the twin chamber forks. That's, I think, the biggest difference between the 93 and 94. The 94 Kawasaki's, love these bikes. These were all new for 94. I remember I got to ride one brand new at a demo day, and I just loved it. I fell so in love with this bike, the KX250 that year, but I couldn't afford one. I was dirt poor at the time, so I was riding used bikes, but I really, really wanted one. I think all the 94s are pretty good machines, quite frankly. ATK. By this point, ATK wasn't really a prominent brand in the late 80s for four-stroke stuff, but somewhere in the mid-90s, they kind of became more of a niche player and got into dual sports and some other stuff. I don't think they were really much of a serious performer by the mid-90s at that point. I'm not sure what happened over there, but they definitely transitioned at one point. Here's the talking about the cost of rebuilding your bike. Really cool ad for Yamaha and their new YZs for 1994. It's MX 93 bike. This is a play on the 93 ad, which it had Emig and Bradshaw, and then, I'm sorry, just had Bradshaw going Damonized, and then they did a kind of a different version of it here. It was Schugel for 94. Ironically, of course, Damon retired, so this ad has Damon in it, but there wasn't a Damon. His replacement, Mike Craig, went to factory Yamaha, but that did not last very long. Craig was let go like early mid-year somewhere along the line, and basically Emig was their top dog in 1994. Here's some coverage of the Red Bud National. It's funny, you watch these old races and the track is much different. Although I do like the layout in the old Red Bud. It was really cool. It had some cool jumps in the infield, but the dirt, you know, look, it was much more hard packed back then. Let's see, there's some cool photos here somewhere. There's a interesting, Shane Nally was like trimming Kudrowski's side plates, and by the middle of the year, it was down to almost just a 3. It started out here, and then by the end of the year, the side plate kept getting smaller and smaller. You got to remember, Jeremy was the Supercross champion. He's riding the 125 class this year. In the old days, a lot of the guys would step down for the nationals. Same thing with Brian Swink. He was a 250 class rider in 93 in Supercross, but he moved back down to the 125s, outdoors. I love the looks of that bike. It's a really good looking factory Suzuki. Love that styling. That Technicell graphics are great. Stanton here is kind of still competitive in 93, but it was kind of, he had changed his diet and become, I think, a vegetarian at some point. He really seemed to lose a little bit of steam there after he changed his diet and started training like a madman. There's a cool ad for Alpine Star. Some other various tech stuff here in the magazine. See here, really, this is a cool ad for the new 94 RMs. As I said, it really looks very similar to a 93. The graphics aren't on the side plate, but I guess the decal and the swing arms are a little different, but really they're very similar. The main difference is these new forks. The new twin chamber cartridge forks were a significant improvement. Honda Troy, really, really great mail order company for a long time and had a race team. I guess they did have maybe Todd DeHoop in 94, and then they got quite a bit bigger after this. Golden Cup Supercross. I'm not sure what that is, but picture of Jeremy. How to Make Your Bike Turn by Roger DeCoster. How to Make Your Brakes Better. A lot of general stuff. You'll notice these magazines are much thicker than they are now. There's a lot more stuff in here. Road Bike Bicycle magazine, the premier issue. I don't know if that's still around. So the only thing, this issue is in very good shape. The only thing you're going to find here is there's a little bit of some damage on the, nice end style line, on the very back cover here. There's a little tear. Other than that, it's in very nice shape for its age. It will be boarded and bagged. It has not been boarded and bagged for much of its life, though. There's a little, you'll notice it's a little curve to it from sitting stacked together. But overall, I'd say it's in really nice shape for its age. So hope you dig it. Good luck.